Hi, my name is Ari, and I'm the founder of collegementoring.org, dedicated to guiding and inspiring students throughout the transition from high school to universities and colleges. Today, I'm honored to be speaking with Sanya, who has achieved remarkable success throughout her journey from Evergreen Valley High School in San Jose, California. To start us off, could you please introduce yourself and share which college or university you attended after graduating from EVHS?
Yeah, so I go to UC Berkeley. I study business and data science there, and business I studied through the global management program.
Okay, amazing. So, how did you decide what courses you wanted to take back in high school, and how do you think they impacted your college application process?
Yeah, so I think I kind of came into like high school kind of knowing that I wanted to be a doctor. Obviously, that's changed, but I think I kind of kept my coursework to like more of the science classes, tried to get done with math as much as I could too. So did like the summer courses for the math classes just so I could take like the APs and things like that. And I think a large goal of mine was to also just take classes that I enjoyed. Um, Realized halfway through high school I didn't really want to be a doctor, like that wasn't super my path. But I still really liked AP Chem, so wanted to take that, so decided to take that. At the time, EV didn't offer a lot of business specific courses, so I think through a lot of like I guess the organizations and like clubs and things that I was part of was where I kind of realized I liked business specifically. But yeah, in terms of courses, it was just based off like I guess where can I get college credit from? And then just what do I enjoy taking? What do I enjoy learning about?
Okay, got you. That makes sense. So, how did you decide what extracurricular activities you wanted to start and do, and how do you think they help you through your college application process?
Yeah, absolutely. Um, I think like a lot of Bay Area high schools, like they kind of shove a lot of like of the same extracurriculars kind of down your throat. It's like, oh, like everyone does speech and debate, everyone does like XYZ. And I think initially I kind of got roped into that, but I also realized that these were just things I didn't really enjoy doing as much. So honestly, I just like did like whatever I wanted to do. Like I played a lot of basketball, like that was super important to me. And then I kind of realized that like I wasn't enjoying like speech and debate and things like that. So found other like extracurriculars. I think I was just searching online on like Instagram and found this like business competition. So entered it, did pretty well in it, and I thought that that was super cool and realized that I really liked business. So went down that path, found more extracurriculars that were kind of like revolved around that. I also like was super into basketball and I really liked business, had a small startup of mine where I sold like athletic clothing. And so I think the biggest advice I would kind of give is like do things that you actually care about because that's where you're going to put your best foot forward and put the most effort in. Um, and when you do things you love, you want to spend time with them. You want to do as well with them as you possibly can. And I think that that passion is exactly what colleges are looking for, that students can take something they like and then like really make an impact with it. So I think like that's one of the biggest things that I think was helpful in my college application process.
Okay, I got you. Makes sense. So, based on your experiences you just explained, what advice or tips would you have towards current high school students who are trying to navigate their college application process, like finding majors and stuff in that category?
Yeah, absolutely. I think definitely using like the things that you've kind of learned in high school, whether that is like things you've done for like your clubs or like nonprofits you worked at or any extracurricular experiences you have, also tied in with like things that you've learned within your coursework, I think is super important. Like really take the time to figure out like what do you truly enjoy doing, and then just kind of doing like the research on like what are careers that kind of look good in this field, what are some things that are actually like attractive to you, and then doing research on like what do these jobs actually entail, and even also looking at like what you would learn if you were to be like XYZ major at a college. I also spent a lot of time like doing a lot of research on like okay like what schools are good for business, because I realized oh through a lot of like the club and organizational work I did in high school, I really liked like working with people. I really enjoyed like seeing different parts of the organization kind of come together. And I think that's also what kind of led me to my startup. Like I liked seeing like the manufacturing, like the sales, the finance, and seeing all these things. And I realized like that's what made me really like business. So I think using those experiences, and I'm sure everyone has kind of a sense of like what you liked about an experience you had versus what you didn't like. So just paying a lot of close attention to that and then using that to guide like what major you want in college.
Okay, amazing. So, are there any insights you wish you had known back in high school that you think would have helped you throughout the college application process?
Yeah. I think Definitely looking into courses that I think colleges kind of give you credit for a little bit earlier. I think I wish I had refined my college list maybe like as like a earlier junior as opposed to like when I did it later my junior year. I think that that would have been helpful, just also figuring out like what classes I can kind of bypass in college. Just because I think like in college like you should be focusing on like your major and what you actually want to learn. Like general like ed classes are fine, but I feel like they also like waste time, if that kind of makes sense. So kind of figuring out like what can I do in high school that'll help me kind of get past that barrier. I also wish I'd taken more advantage of like community college courses. I feel like those are like super underrated, especially like as California students, like you get them for free. But now that I'm in high school, if I want to take a community college course, I have to pay like $200. So I think doing that and then also using that probably to guide like what I like to do in college. I took an accounting class at EVC when I was at Evergreen Valley, and I really liked that. So I think if I wish I had done more of those things, taken more community college courses, also because there's so much more like breadth to them than like high school courses, I think that would have been nice. But yeah, those are a couple of things.
Are there any ways that you think like narrowing, like how would you narrow down your colleges, like through like selection and stuff? Because I know it's super hard for kids to choose nowadays where they want to go.
Yeah, I actually just had like this big like fat textbook of like 385 of like the best schools in like the US. So like me and my dad would sit down and go through that, and then we just kind of look at like the strength of like the business programs. Another thing I kind of knew was that like I like going to like a bigger school. I think that especially with like business, like having your network is super important. So like I guess like the more people that go to a school, the better and wider your network kind of is. And I think that like I don't know, smaller schools just weren't very appealing to me. So I kind of like ruled out all like the smaller school and knew I wanted to focus on bigger schools. And I think that was one way that kind of helped me out. Another thing is also just like location and other little factors that I think determine like your happiness at a school. Cause yeah, the program and like the major and everything is like incredibly important, but also like finding a place where you would actually be happy because you're there for 4 years. Like that's not a very short amount of time. And like college is such a great time. So you want to be somewhere where you are truly happy, whether that's like being somewhere that's on like the West Coast, even just going to school close to home, I think has been a super huge plus. So figuring out like what is kind of the size of the school that you want to go to, like how strong is their program for their major, even just like reaching out to like people who go there and talking about it, or like watching like interviews like this that you're doing, which is super cool. So things like that I think are really important. But yeah, major strength, school size, yeah, location, things like that.
Okay, for sure. So moving on to like recommendation sources, what sources or tools did you find helpful when you were studying at college and high school, and how did you like did you rely on any websites, mentors, or like guidance counselors, anything like that?
Yeah, I feel like I talked to like the school guidance counselor a little bit, just about courses primarily, but I feel like courses at least at EV are like decently straightforward, so honestly didn't pay too much attention to that. But other than that, it was mostly just like me kind of like figuring things out on my
Yeah.
own and reaching out to a lot of upperclassmen. I talked to a couple of them when I was a junior in high school, just reached out to like some of the seniors who had gone to colleges that I really wanted to go to, and I think that they were honestly super, super helpful. Like I feel like older people like alumni will just give it to you very straight and very bluntly. And like there was this one girl specifically who now goes to like UPenn Wharton. She was super smart. She like gave me everything I needed to know about business, like helped me out so much with that, helped me figure out like where I would kind of want to go to school, whether I wanted to do business. And I think that was super helpful. I also did have a guidance count or like just like college counselor, I guess generally, who was like pretty helpful like with essays and things like that. But I feel like yeah, most of it was just like me doing my extracurriculars and then getting some help from like essays with my college counselor and then like talking to alumni and like whatever insights they kind of had.
So, reflecting on your journey at Evergreen Valley High School to your current college, what do you believe had the biggest impact on your success?
Oh, that's a difficult question. Um, I think it kind of just goes back to me doing like the things that I actually enjoy doing. I think that's been such a big like driver for me, and the things that I've done has always just been like, okay, I like doing this, so I want to do like as well with it as I possibly can. And I feel like that's what kind of led me to do a lot of like be very involved in organizations and clubs and nonprofits, to do my little startup thing, to join more business like business competitions and things like that, and then just gaining experiences through the things that I've done, learning from them, and like doing as much and as well as best as I could with the extracurriculars I did decide to pursue, I think was super important. I will add that like my like college-ish journey, like most of my high school was like COVID, like sophomore junior year, so I feel like that also provided like I was able to take on more things just because everything was more remote, which I think was helpful. But yeah, I think the biggest thing is just like doing things that you actually enjoy doing. Don't let people tell you that there's like a formula for success. If you do what you love to do, you will do it well, you will put in the time, and I think that that ultimately leads to success.
Okay, so like what aspects of like approaching your college application process would you do differently back in high school? If like from now with all the experience you know.
Yeah. Honestly, I think my like Common App essay was kind of weak when I first submitted it to a couple of colleges, but then like halfway through applying, like maybe like October, November, I think I changed the whole thing to something I liked much better. And I think that I got rejected from a couple of schools because I feel like my initial Common App essay was kind of weak. So I would say like with college applications, like spend as much time with them as you possibly can, like especially your essays, like sit there with them and really understand whether or not it's something that you like and you think is very representative of yourself. I wish I had done that like a little bit more with a few of my essays. I feel like that would have made like a bigger difference and I would have been more happy with what I submitted. So I would say like, yeah, like prioritize your college app over anything else, like when you have the time to do it. Cause like at that point, like your coursework doesn't matter as much, your grades don't matter as much, your extracurriculars don't matter as much because you kind of like have everything that you've done. And now it's just time for you to submit those applications. And I think that those are the most important thing that you're doing at that time because it like that's what determines like where you go, right? So I think really taking the time, like sit with your essays, really figure out whether you like them and you like how they're written, revise them a million times if needed, but really prioritize those and do a good job with making sure they reflect who you are and like the incredible experiences you have and the things that you've done.
Okay, so like on the topic of college essays,
Yeah.
could you elaborate more, maybe talking about like who helped you a lot through the process and more on like that specific topic?
Yeah, absolutely. I think with my essays, I really try to focus on like the experiences that I've had, especially the ones that are like very meaningful to me and that were pivotal to my life and like really taught me the most. So I think like even just making a bulleted list of like, hey, like these are important experiences that I've had, and these are the things that I've learned from them, and this is how it's made me who I am. Because that's what colleges are kind of looking for, right? Like, who are you as a person, and how do your experiences kind of exemplify this, right? Like a lot of colleges will like remember things like, oh, like people will say like, oh, I'm strong, I'm smart, I'm this, I'm this, but the way colleges actually remember what you wrote is through examples. So having powerful examples and stories that are really meaningful and have some sort of impact on like who you are, I think is super important. So like just having a like a brainstorm list where I would just like brain dump everything I could think of and then just kind of picking through that, like what I think is important to me. And I think that at the end of the day, like you're kind of the only person who can really tell, like, is this really representative of who you are as a person and is this meaningful to you? But I think my college counselor also did help, like just helping with like telling me about how important it is to talk about like your impact, really helping me pick out like, okay, I think maybe this topic sounds a little bit stronger than this one. So I think just having like a community of people who can also like check your essays, like whether that's like your parents or like someone like completely different who gives you like a new unbiased perspective on your essay, I think that's really nice. But yeah, I feel like that was important. And then watching like YouTube videos, like a lot of people would just talk about like, oh, like here's an example of like my essay that I wrote about. So I would like watch people read out their essays that got them into like Harvard, Stanford, things like that. And I think that that was also super helpful.
Okay, amazing. Well, that's all I have for you today. Is there anything else you would like to add?
I think I'm good, but thank you so much for having me.
Okay, so amazing. Thank you so much for
Yeah,
getting your insights on all of this. And until next time, take care.
absolutely. Thank you so much.